First up, it's time for a sports exclusive. This is a chat with the new BCCI Secretary, Ajay Shirke. Remember, there has been a change in regime as far as the Indian Cricket Board is concerned, with Anurag Thakur taking over as the new president and Mr. Shirke taking over as the new secretary. A very powerful position in the most powerful cricket board in the world. Joining us now for more on this, Mr. Shirke himself. Mr. Shirke, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thanks so much for talking to NDTV. First up, it's a challenging time really for the Indian Cricket Board. What would you say is the biggest challenge that lies ahead for you and your team, sir?
Thank you, first of all, for having me on your channel. I wouldn't single out a particular challenge. There will be different things to be addressed, but what generally everybody refers to as the challenging time is, of course, the final outcome of the recommendations of the Lodha committee and the case that is pending in the Supreme Court. So what those challenges will be, I would broadly classify them as external and internal. The external, of course, influenced by the final outcome of the Supreme Court. And it is too early to say anything about that because the judgment is not out. And we would have to wait to really effectively comment on that. As far as the internal issues are concerned, I think they are fairly routine. They would be mainly implementing the reforms that have already been put in place by our past president, Mr. Shashank Manohar, and implementing them through and getting the results out of the implementation of those reforms and ensuring a better governance.
Right, Mr. Shirke, of course, we all know just how challenging the road ahead is for the Indian Cricket Board, especially as you mentioned, implementing the Lodha panel recommendations. If, of course, the Supreme Court upholds all the recommendations, then you'll have to you have to apply all those recommendations in toto. Would you say the biggest challenge, perhaps, for the BCCI will be if the Supreme Court goes ahead with the one state, one vote recommendation?
See, as I have been repeatedly saying, it is whatever we say when there is a matter pending before the court, to predict the outcome of that is merely speculation. So it would be proper to wait and see what the views of the court are in its final order, and then really be able to effectively talk about it. Today, if we single out a particular recommendation, whether it's the one vote, one state or the advertising, I don't think we have reached finality on that, and therefore it would not be fair to single out any recommendation.
Well, fair enough. Let's talk about something else, Mr. Shirke. Now, you are someone who, we remember, resigned from the post of the BCCI treasurer in 2013 at a time when a lot of people were asking for Mr. N. Srinivasan to resign as the board president. At that time, both you and Mr. Sanjay Jagdale, who was the secretary at that time, literally bit the bullet and decided to step down from your posts, and you were appreciated a lot by most people, cricket fans, cricket lovers across the country, across the world. How much, sir, would you say have things changed from 2013 to now as far as the BCCI is concerned?
Yeah, first of all, that is history, so that's gone and buried in the past. What we have to look forward to is what we are able to achieve in the road ahead. So people are, of course, looking forward to a lot of redemption of the image of the BCCI, and we would do our best as a team. We now have a young, dynamic president, and we have a good team. We are now assisted by a lot of professionals as well, and we would like to do our best so that we meet the aspirations of all the millions of cricket fans and all the stakeholders and everybody concerned with cricket in India.
Right. Would you say, Mr. Shirke, that the strongest pillar perhaps of the new regime, the new face of the Indian board, and perhaps this started from the time that Mr. Shashank Manohar himself took over as the BCCI president, would you say the strongest pillar perhaps is transparency, and that is what all of you really swear by?
Definitely, we would like to improve upon transparency, but one cannot forget that given all the turbulent times and the various issues, litigations, controversies that have surrounded the board has not failed to deliver on the cricketing front. In spite of all these things that were happening, every single tournament of the board, whether it was an age group tournament, under 14s, under 16 Ranji Trophy, the World Cup, the IPL, the issues related to the IPL, the shifting of matches, all of this, the payments, the audits of the BCCI, all of this has been concurrently happening and working smoothly. So clearly, the organization has much more merit than it is generally perceived or made out to be.
All right, let's talk about something else, Mr. Shirke. Just a final couple of questions, really. You are advertising for the post of the next Indian coach. That is something that the entire country, the countless cricket followers, cricket fans in this country want to know who will be the next coach of the Indian senior men's cricket team. Would it be fair to say that the board is open to any and all candidates, both Indian and foreign?
Yes, this is again generally an initiative which is to improve and bring about more transparency in the appointment processes. Therefore, it is, I think, for the first time that the President has taken this initiative, and I think it's a very welcome initiative where we are going to advertise to answer the question whether anybody would be eligible. There would, of course, have to be an eligibility criteria, because we are talking here about coaching professional national teams and the associated teams. So therefore, there would be a criteria. We are just about in the process of making a document for the eligibility criteria, and then people could apply for that.
Right, here's a tricky question for you, Mr. Shirke, and again, a lot of cricket followers, cricket fans in this country would want to know about this. Is Rahul Dravid on the BCCI's radar as the next India coach?
See, as I told you, there is a process that is being put into place. So I would not be able to comment on who is on the radar. There is no question of anybody being on the radar. It will be done through a process.
All right, one final question, sir. As board secretary, a very powerful position in the most powerful and financially most powerful cricket board in the world. What is Ajay Shirke's message for the countless Indian cricket fans right now, who, as you yourself mentioned, is looking towards redemption of the BCCI?
That is too, I think it's too big a question for a very simple man like me to answer. I do not have any message. The only message, if there is one, is that we as a team would do our best to see that the BCCI is run as one of the best cricket bodies in the world.
All right, Mr. Ajay Shirke, thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. That is, of course, the new secretary of the BCCI, Mr. Shirke, joining us live from Mumbai there and saying that he and his new team, along with, of course, Anurag Thakur as the president, will do their best to make sure that the BCCI is the best cricket board in the world.